Hey everybody, we're back. This might be part two. We'll figure out how we work it. There was a emergency restroom break.
It was time.
It was time. Very much time. So we did have the opportunity to, I'm going to apologize ahead of time. Stephen, what's your wife's name?
Kim.
Kim. I knew that, but I just forgot. Kim had the opportunity to come out and try the selected by the chairman, third edition barrel bourbon. And as Stephen and I stated, it was a little bit warm at the beginning and finished nice. Stephen was a little concerned.
I was surprised. Actually, I didn't think I thought she would sip it, but then she would like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
She usually holds it in her mouth and, tries to figure it out. But.
Yeah. So this stuff's really good. So, for example, we have a tendency on the podcast, we'll buy from anywhere from $35 to $75 bottles on average. Because I wanted to surprise you with something you've never had, I went for the gusto and got the $100 bottle of bourbon. It's everything it's chalked up to be.
Yeah, it's supposed to be.
It is definitely the quality of $100 bourbon, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen your wife drink bourbon before, and I kind of didn't expect her to say, yeah, this is, it's a little warm at the beginning, but it's fine at the finish. That, to me, screams that bourbon's pretty good. Pretty smooth for most people,
mm-hmm.
right? That like bourbon. How much? We got a little bit left. Stephen brought another bourbon for us to try before we end here.
We haven't got the dog father out. It's a 15-year-old.
Yeah, we're not going to drink much of it. Yeah. That is a very good.
And we don't have a chance to drink.
No.
Go get another bottle.
Can I see the bottle just for
absolutely.
a sec? So on the side of it, distilled January 6th, 2015. So that's a 17-year-old bottle of bourbon.
05. Is it 05?
Oh, yeah, 05.
Yep.
05,
okay.
Sorry. So, and it was already aged 15 years.
Yep. Yeah, so they probably put it in the bottles in 2020. And again, I think, if I remember right...
Is it... Hold on.
I think this is all there's going to be of this particular...
Distilled and... Okay.
I think, 5,475 days old, it says. I think... And you can obviously go on the internet and figure it out, but this is all there's ever going to be of it. And this is... done
Of that dog father?
Yep. And I think that...
That's why it's so expensive.
My understanding is, I mean, they've got the right stuff here to make the right bourbon. I can tell you, again, my oldest son, just starting to get into it. He's got a decent palate, He's been afforded the opportunity to drink.
To
drink some pretty good bourbons, and so we got it out one night and had a few others. Again, we don't drink volumes; we drink
little bits.
Yep.
Just like you and I have. We haven't drank probably more than
just
3 or 4 ounces all day.
If even, yep.
And it's already almost 3 hours in.
Yep. So as soon as I could tell as soon as he first taste he took, he was like, I could see it in his face. He's like, whoa, this is a whole different ballgame.
Yeah.
And I don't remember what we were drinking that night.
Yeah.
Again, we have the Blantons and the... I love the Weller Black, and I can go through some of them. And my wife, that's her thing. I have to hide the bottles, the new bottles, because hard to get. So I don't really care if she drinks it. It's just, can I get it?
Yeah.
So that kind of thing.
I bought wasn't expensive at all. It kind of I call them gimmick whiskeys.
Mm-hmm.
It was one of the things once in a while when I want something honestly kind of harsh,
mm-hmm.
Because old school like I am, sometimes I just want something that's going to just be a little bit harsh. And to me, Jack Daniels is harsh. It's not a nice, smooth, flavorful. It's just kind of a harsh flavor. And so I was walking by and I was trying to find something for us. And I saw this Jack Daniels cider. And it is not something I want to drink. I'm going to be 100% honest with you. My wife poured a glass and I tried it and I was like, it's too sweet. I don't want anything to do with it. It tastes good. It tasted like a cider, but I don't want anything to do with it. It's just not what I like for enjoying a drink. But that little Jack Daniel's cider that my wife got, or I got my wife, she poured it, and it was so good to her that she was like, you need to go put that bottle away and hide it from me. And so I literally, right now, she doesn't know where it's at. I have it tucked away in a hidey hole.
We'll just get it out
because it was so good to her. So that Weller's might be the same way to your wife.
Way with her. We were in Vegas one time, and I ran into a bottle of it, and I thought it was way too expensive, and she's like, not this weekend. Dang. They had it all up there, like, the little light shining on.
Yeah.
Ding, ding, yeah, they had some the pappies in there too. It was, she was in pursuit, and why not?
Yeah.
So we did. So.
You enjoyed yourselves.
Yeah, absolutely.
So this is kind of a weird directional change for me. We're talking about bourbons and drinking, and then I'm going to talk to him about Christ. So just out of curiosity, because we have our own stories about when we found God and what drove us to God and all those things. So when and what really set your heart to say Christ is the most important thing in my life?
Honestly, it started at a young age for me. I never was really involved, but it's always been there. My folks went to church. They didn't really force us to go to church. Kind of a neat thing, in my opinion, because I guess it's kind of an individual thing. I know church is a community. I'm not the most community-driven guy, so kind of spent 2 or 3, 4 different things really in my life that keeps reinforcing it. When I was a kid, supernatural story kind of. On the Canary Islands, I believe it was, 2 planes ran together, and the 700 Club had a special edition about it, probably
Yeah.
a Survivor or something. I'm not really sure. And I was upstairs, should have been in bed. Questioned this for a while. Heard my mom or dad, and to this day I can't tell you, coming up the stairs, and I knew I was supposed to be in bed, and I went to open the door so I could run to my bedroom, just take it on the chin, because I thought I was in bed, but I was actually watching the story, and I couldn't open the door. Maybe I didn't turn the doorknob, I don't know.
Yeah.
All I know is as soon as the door came open, the door to the bathroom shut. They never knew. I was watching the 700 Club past my bedtime, and I went straight to bed. Kind of stuck in my head. And thought, I was probably 8 years old, 7 years old at the time. It's always stuck in my head that there was, something wanted me to stay awake that night to see the testimony that came out. I've drifted in and out. And I think we're fairly generous with the church at this point, and I like to hear stories like that. Jesus definitely, he didn't deal with people who were perfect. He dealt with the less than perfect, so I fit in pretty well.
Me too.
It just seems like that he does work in mysterious ways, and my eye is always open for how he's working. And you were talking about earlier being a control freak. Oh, geez, I probably did 90%, 100% of the sales, and I'm not going to go there intentionally because we talked a little bit earlier. I thought that question might be coming. So, when things got too big at work, one day I just sat down and said, I'm gonna give it to you, and maybe we won't have a home someday, but you're gonna have to help me answer these questions because they're starting to get bigger than I am. And it just kind of took off in '08. I thought we'd lose everything because it was really a bad downturn. I know we're kind of we've been in a recession here for probably the last couple quarters. I mean, yeah, they're redefining it, but
Yeah.
things are backing up, and we know that. And there's too much money in the economy right now to, inflation is a natural thing for what they've done. I'm kind of shocked in a way that they're not measuring it against the amount of money that's in the economy, because if you're going to put a lot of money in and the economy doesn't grow, you're going to get inflation. It just is what it is. So it's not an imperceptible thing that they can't judge or manage. So anyway, I laid awake a lot of nights just hoping that he would show me the way, and we got pretty low there for a while. We owed a lot more than we had. Let's just put it that way. And we weren't generating enough revenue to keep up. And I just, try to go to church as much as I can. Talk about, read the Bible a lot. Read books about the Bible. I don't read the Bible a lot. I read it a good amount of time. I don't want to overstate it. I've read several books trying to help me understand it more. And I'm sitting on the couch one day, and we weren't doing so well. And I don't even know what the religious channel is, but at that time we had satellite TV, and it's Sunday, and we weren't making it to church. Probably had something going on family-wise, and just trying to figure out our priorities. Anyway, we didn't go to church, so I thought, well, let me watch some. Maybe something will come out. The whole sermon was about business. I almost felt like, in a weird way, and this has only happened one other time with a friend that confided in me that he felt like that he was being spoken to by Jesus or something through the TV. It kind of was, He said, you have to pray for a tidal wave of business, and I thought the tidal wave's kind of bad, So there's all this emotion going on when I, but I went ahead and I did it, and things just took off. I don't know how else to explain it. I can sit there and try to tell you a lot of things, but it just took off. And it's ever since then, I've just kind of left it up to him. There's some times that I make decisions and that I don't think I really make. If you really want to know the truth, I'm kind of like, look, it's just, this is the decision I'm supposed to make, and I just make that decision, and it just seems like they're right. And that's business related. There's also the family side, and it just seems like the more you invest in him and the more you bring your family into it, the more your family things just happen for the right reason, and you're just following what it is. When I first refocused on becoming a Christian, I think a lot of people see it as like this real penned up way, and honestly, becoming a good Christian is like the most freeing experience I've ever had. And that's kind of the crazy thing about it, because there is an exact right and an exact wrong. This is not, it isn't some whatever you want to make it. I remember one time I was elk hunting on the side of a mountain, and I was walking, and I'm walking down this big trail, and I kind of have this epiphany, It's like this big wide open trail, and I'm walking to wherever it's taking me. I'm not really paying attention to where I'm going, because I think it's the answer, it's the right way to go. And I remember I stood there and thought, wow, this is just like Christianity. This is the big wide open road. I'm just following the path of least resistance.
Yeah.
I'm not necessarily looking for elk at this point. I'm just looking for the easy route. And I actually talked to a minister about it, and not really anything pointing, one direction or the other. It's just kind of things that I've processed through my life. That's, I believe in God. I believe not just in God, Jesus, and that, I still struggle like other people with faith and all that, but going out and seeing the things I see in nature and watching how it all works together. It isn't done just haphazardly.
No.
There's no question there. So, and these are just life experiences that's brought me there.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I know that if we move our lives, and so just out of curiosity, I struggle with praying for things for myself.
Mm-hmm.
So the reason I bring this up, because I think most men do. Mm-hmm. I think we do. And I think most entrepreneurs struggle with, be careful how I phrase that. Most people like you and I, as entrepreneurs, struggle with praying to God for benefit for ourselves because it feels selfish, even though that's what we need. Mm-hmm. And so I was told, because I asked my pastor, I was like, I feel bad praying for success. I think it's selfish. I think it's greedy. I think it's self-benefiting. Mm-hmm. And he goes, Jesus tells us to pray to God for everything. Pray to God for everything in Jesus' name, and it'll be answered. No matter what it is, it'll be answered in the right way. And that's why I like what you said, that sometimes I make decisions and it doesn't 100% feel like your decision, but it's the decision that needs to be made. Mm-hmm. And I really like that, because every aspect of my life where I'm at today has been because something, in my opinion, someone, and my belief is God, has said, go do this. And I go do it. Just like this silly little podcast. A lot of people have asked me, why are you doing a podcast? And my initial answer is, it's a numbers game, right? We're promoting our businesses through the podcast, but ultimately it's because something told me you need to put out this podcast. Mm-hmm. And so this is what we do. And our faith in God is just a driving factor in our everyday lives. So, or at least it is for us. Thank you for sharing your side of that.
No, it's pretty simple. I mean,
yeah.
And I'm not really sure what honestly, all the money's his anyway. So
yeah,
I don't, and but that or whatever. It's
really,
he created the whole world,
yeah.
So it doesn't really. I mean,
you only have what you have because he chose to let you have it.
That's all it is. I mean, he can. Yeah, he can take it away or give it to you or whatever. I mean, there's no.
Yes.
So I just feel blessed, and that's why I say it every day. I mean, and I tell my wife that, we've been blessed, and I thank him every day for it, and I hope we do good with it. We try to give back to the church, and we try. I mean, I drove in. I was down filling up with gas. I think it was. Maybe it was getting ice, and this kid was. Oh, I know it. I was probably filling up with gas, but I was getting something out of the store. I never go in there, and I cut this younger kid off as I was going up to pay for something I grabbed, and he just kind of stood there, and I'm like, dude, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I mean, go ahead. And he said, oh no. He said, I'm going to be here a while. I'm like, why is that? He's like, well, our truck just broke down, so only one we got. I'm like, oh, okay. So anyway, I go out and finish up my business, and I see a lady standing there at this pickup, and she's crying. And so I talked to the kid a little bit more, and I don't exactly remember it all, but and anyway, he's like, well, my dad, we got an ATV, so we live in the country, so things like this happen. He's going to go get the ATV. We think we can pull the pickup home because this is our only car, and I'm supposed to be at work, and I'm trying to help because we're trying to buy this house. And I'm like, well, I got this old pickup in the driveway that I've been trying to figure out what to do with. I mean, could you use it? And they're like, sure, but we can't pay for it. I'm like, I don't want any money for it. I mean, if you can use it, you can have it. I'm like, I mean, I could almost tell they were almost like, well, what's the catch, you know? And I'm like, there's no catch. I mean, just
come get it.
If you can, at some point in time, you know, pass on something good,
Yeah.
you know, and I feel like that's the Christian way personally, and I didn't ever really say that, although the weird thing was at the end, not the weird thing, is he made a reference to Jesus, that he knew that this wasn't just you know, that he had somebody that wasn't trying to be selfish, or it didn't really matter. Actually, we went home, I said, hold on, because it had some trash in it.
Yeah.
So we came home and cleaned it up. I didn't know when the last time the oil was changed, so we didn't change the oil, but I think we got everything to do all the service work, and we got all the stuff, and I gave them, you know, everything I could think of so they could get a head start. And anyway, I think that's Christianity. You know, Christianity is more than that. You have to be a believer to get accepted into heaven. But I mean, what a great book in the way that they help each other, and the Samaritans and that kind of stuff. It's just awesome, just awesome.
Yes, 100%. The one thing that really stuck to me. So I'm a fairly new, or should I say renewed Christian, okay? So I go to men's Bible study every Monday night. And so we were studying a part of Acts, and it was where Paul and Saul got persecuted for releasing a spirit out of a girl that could predict the future, and so on and so forth, and they got beat, and so on so on, and they got put in jail, and unjustifiably. So they should have had trial and all this, and they didn't get trial. I'm giving the redneck version of this. And so through this, the hierarchy said, release them. And Paul said, no. We're Roman citizens. You threw us in jail and you beat us without a trial. And it was wrong. They need to come release us. So all he asked, and this has really caught me the other day, all he asked is for them to come and say, sorry, we beat you and we shouldn't have. Go about your way, you're free. He wanted them to come release him. Now, let's flip the tide. What would happen in today's society? Let's say I wrongfully persecute you and you're not a Christian, right? What are most people going to do? Sue me and sue me and sue me and try to destroy me, right? Where the Bible actually says, don't sue your fellow Christian. Don't take them to a place to be judged by people that aren't Christian. Because unfortunately our court system necessarily isn't that way. I'm not saying it is or isn't, but I guess my point behind this is going back to your statement about the Bible guides us in the right way to handle things, and it's better to deal with things outside of the court system, try to fix things, try to do the right thing that you know that's right, right, instead of trying to create gain off someone's mistake.
Sure.
I probably did a horrible job of explaining that entire thing, but just to let you know, it was like Acts 16. Go read it, and it'll make a whole lot more sense to you. But it's always a challenge for us as Christians to make the right decisions. And I really like how you said it. It's as simple as walking that path.
I think so. True.
I think all you've got to do is understand right from wrong, true right from wrong, not global right from wrong, but true right from wrong. And you can find that in this book right here.
God's right from wrong. Yeah, no. And I almost think it's built into who you are. I think you know right from wrong.
Yeah.
Obviously, you do know right from wrong because at one point in time, and then we sinned, and so we would have lived forever, and now we don't, and we're not perfect. But that means there is a wrong and there is a right. So that's your moral compass, and the world would be a lot better off if it would just realize that and quit fighting it. And it's so easy to say and so hard to to do, but realize that nobody's perfect. One being was perfect. One person was perfect. And that's okay. But you just have to realize that you have limitations, and you should try to abide by them the best you can. And there's big rights and wrongs that are fairly easy to stay with inside. And I just wish. I think now, obviously, in the new society, that those are they know better. They're just I guess they're and you're definitely not supposed to challenge or whatever. And I feel like that's what we're doing, and we're going to pay for it eventually.
There's I'll guide down this real quick, and then I'll jump off of it. So in history, if we evaluate history, every society that has collapsed, from the Roman Empire to you name it, right? They had a very good platform, and then in the beginning, they let moral immorality take over, and the further they got from their platform and they went to the moral immorality side is where they failed. And that's where the governments collapsed, the society collapsed. The only difference is the United States of America, as far as I know, and I could be completely wrong, was, as far as I know. So, again, as far as I know, was the only society based 100% on God. And a constitution that put God first.
Put inalienable rights first.
Yes.
Yes.
So,
from God. Yep.
So, with that being said, without that constitution and inalienable rights given to us by God, that's the only thing holding us together right now. But if we continue on this path, we'll just say path, things could be more challenging. So I'm not going to drag you into the weeds on that one. So we're going to, unless you want to go down them, I don't think that's the best. That's up to you.
No, I mean, I think it's pretty clear what's going on. And so we're an experiment. I mean, I've read most of the Federalist Papers and done some research there, and a little bit politically motivated, I guess, because I feel like we are the greatest country, in the world, and the reason we are is not because it just happened, is because there was some good planning. We had the right people at the right time, in the right place, to do the things right. And what they believed is that basically each person, it wasn't equity, it was equality. And the way that equality was established was that we had certain rights.
Yes.
Okay, so we're governed by laws. So as long as you held those firm, that's those pathways, everybody got the same opportunity, right? And the most perfect, in my opinion, thing in the whole deal was that they believed that each person had the ability to govern themselves. That was a very new concept. Before then, there was always like a deity or a special person who had God-given talents to tell people how to do things and why. and we believe that each person can manage themselves, and their management might look a lot different than
Yes.
their neighbors. So we didn't create it, but we talked a lot about liberty and freedom and that kind of stuff. And liberty was, that our ability to have our own piece of property, and that we actually owned it, and that if we wanted to build a trailer house next to the $10 million mansion, so be it.
Power to you.
Yeah, and the $10 million mansion guy, he might complain, but the good thing is he could always move. You
Yep.
know, and yeah, maybe you're, I think liberty is a tough concept, and our ability to manage ourselves is gets kind of, I guess, lost in the weeds. And there's a couple guys. Mark Levin's one of the better ones, and I could get into some fairly philosophical stuff, because he definitely goes down that path. And but our ability to govern ourselves and looking at liberty, the best place I've ever heard of it explained is liberty is being able to swing your fists and you're okay until you hit somebody in the face. And then all of a sudden now you've crossed that line, and so because now you're into their space at that point.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, we can dig at that all we want. I just hope that someday, and I feel like hopefully people seeing what's going on now realize that I don't think we're on the right path. Everybody has their own opinion of that, but I think you're right. There are absolute truths and rights and wrongs, and it is what it is. You can fight it, but that doesn't mean you're going to change it.
Yeah.
Or you can ignore it, but that doesn't mean it's going to go away.
Correct.
And that's what I think we're seeing right now. People are challenging it. It's almost like a 4 or 5 year old toddler. They realize that they can, they can
Push and push and push.
and they can try to not follow the rules. They realize that the rules are the right way, but they're just trying to almost see what happens.
See how far they can get.
Mm-hmm. And that's kind of what I feel like is going on, and it's not healthy. It's unfortunate that as a society that we won't collectively get together and say, look, we understand what you're doing, but it's not right. So let's do it right, and well, it just works better. It did.
Oh, yeah.
We all saw it. Well, it did.
100%. So with that philosophy of seeing what, like you said, that people are kind of coming around. So one of the big trends that I've noticed, and maybe you have too, is this farm to table, field to table,
Mm-hmm.
harvest to table philosophy, going back to the hunting side of things. So have you experienced a lot of more people moving towards that movement than what there were 10 years ago? Because I've seen a lot more movement of we should eat what we harvest. We should eat what instead of going to grocery stores to find it, we should grow our crops. We should, if you think about it, more back into the early 1900s when most people were growing everything they needed or hunting and harvesting everything we needed. Now, do I think our society is going to get that far back? I don't know. But so are you seeing a little bit of that, or am I just a little bit on a...
No, I think so. I think there's a push there. I think some of it COVID brought up because people realized, you couldn't get a beef butchered for months.
Yes.
And before then, you could probably walk into a local slaughterhouse and get one about any time you wanted.
Yes.
I think the interesting thing is, and obviously being around hunting, and we have our own cattle. Right now we're down to 1 cow. We usually have 5 or 6 here, and we'll harvest our own sometimes. People tend to be afraid of their own meat, is what I've seen. They don't like to kill what they own. They'll go buy it out of the grocery store and eat a steak rare, But if it's their own cow, they're a little bit, and it's actually the opposite, And wild game's the same way. People are always worried about if it's going to be gamey or whatever, and that is somewhat true. But chicken doesn't taste like beef, and beef doesn't taste like pork. Why would you expect a deer to taste like any of that stuff as well? And so, we shoot a lot of we don't shoot a lot of animals. We shoot our fair share of animals, and we try to use each one of those animals to the complete, process through it.
Yeah.
And-
So what he's meaning by that is you don't waste anything that you
Do our
don't
best.
have to waste.
Yeah, I'm realistic. We do our best. I'd like to say that we're 100%, and I can tell you that as we've got more experienced, we've done a lot better job of not wasting anything, and I think some of that is truly experience. I'd like to tell you that we eat every single ounce, and I'd challenge anybody that kills animals to tell me that they really, really do. But at the meantime, we've learned how to even use what used to be waste, what we would not maybe put on the table, or feed to the dogs. We actually feed to ourselves now, but we're real conscious of that, and we're always experimenting. Actually, one of our best things, and this is for anybody that doesn't eat a lot of game meat, is if you are trying to get healthier, obviously you realize it's totally organic, it's lower in fat and all that, although some of the moose we shoot in Alaska, you'd be surprised at the marbling and stuff in it. It's definitely not like beef, but it's starting to show it a little bit. Is we've started to grind a lot of that meat all together, and then we put seasoning in it like a breakfast sausage.
Oh yeah.
And then we just cook it in our like scrambled eggs or whatever.
Yep.
It's fantastic.
Phenomenal.
And it doesn't have any of the MSG or any of that stuff. It's kind of our new awakening there. We do a lot of hot dogs and casings, a lot of that stuff. Obviously, all the prime cuts, that's not an issue.
Yeah.
That's not an issue. The back straps and even the big round roasts or the rump roasts. We process them our own, so I don't exactly know what roast it is. It's just a roast. We just separate the muscles out of there because I don't like the white. To try to get as much of the white skin out as we can, but we eat a lot of game meat, and it's good for you. So
one of the things that I like that you said is so one of the things that we do through Pheasants Forever and also through CQ Game Birds and also through Rub Me Down Barbecue is we put on cooking classes. Mm-hmm. And so we made a teal dish because early teal season was here recently, and we had some teal, and so we made a apple teal appetizer.
Oh, yeah.
And it was topped with a sour cream horseradish topping, and everybody just loved it. Even the people that were pretty skittish about teal and ducks in general. And so they started asking me, because a lot of these people, they hunt, but they don't understand that the animals you harvest in the wild are less likely, if you harvest a healthy animal, are less likely to have any kind of health issues or any kind of additional things put in their bodies.
Sure.
Than anything you buy at the store. And I had several of them go, what? And I was like, so you want to stay away from antibiotics. All these people that are saying you should stay away from antibiotics, you should stay away from this, you shouldn't vaccinate your animals, even though, we won't go there. So you shouldn't vaccinate your animals, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that. You need a 100% organic animal to harvest. What do you think we're getting when we hunt?
Especially moose in Alaska or something like that, because they're so far away from they couldn't even get fertilizer that's accidentally oversprayed or whatever.
And so I stressed that to that cooking class, and they're like, oh, we didn't see it that way. So when we teach these classes, we're literally cooking with 100% organic meat.
Sure.
Meat that is harvested. And I like the way you put that, is because when we do that, we're able to create and have the healthiest meat possible.
And I really feel like kind of the interesting thing is, and I'm not really sure biologically how it works, but it takes less game meat to satisfy your hunger than it does beef, and I'm not really sure if that's because we're just used to eating beef or because of the fat content in beef, and you can really but you start to learn what it truly takes for a healthy portion.
So here's it. In my opinion, I know the answer to this question, but I'm going to ask you the question. So, elk, moose, deer, cloven harvest animals. Don't you feel that wild game is a more dense meat?
I think so. I think it is. I think it's richer, I guess, is
yes.
the way to say it.
And so...
Moose, maybe not as much.
Yeah, moose would have a heavier fat
sheep
content.
Meat, sheep is like one of my favorite. And then the early season caribou, those are two of the favorites. But that's a hard meat to access.
To access. But at the same time, if you eat, let's say Kansas deer in general, right? Kansas deer is a denser, less fatty
way
meat
so.
than cattle, because I think cattle in buffalo used to be a leaner meat. Yeah. But then as we develop this flavor profile that people are looking for through corns and grains and things like that, we create this flavor profile that you can, and we're looking for tenderness and meat. Which, don't get me wrong, I think you can take a deer loin, cut it, and it can be just as tender as a beef loin if cooked correctly.
You can't overcook it.
Yes.
It's simple as that. If it's over medium rare, it's probably going to be tougher. I think it's the fat content probably.
Yes.
That drives that.
And so that's what I'm trying to do is get to where you asked, I don't know if it's a fat or not. I think it's 100% the fat.
Probably is.
And that is also...
Fat's less dense.
Yeah. And that's also the fat that makes us all fat. I think if we'd all go to eating the leaner meats, we don't need as much of it, and we're satisfied. And instead of just 16-ounce ribeye, which I love, you can go to a 8-ounce nice cut of wild game and be just as satisfied.
Yeah, and you know, I mean, obviously, trying to be a realist here, everybody listening probably doesn't have that opportunity. So, but it is, you know, if you have access to it, definitely use it. And then if you don't, and you have buddies that hunt or whatever, you might find out that they don't use all what they have or whatever. You put the word out. I know, like in Alaska, I mean, it's a second form of money. You know?
Yeah.
So you can trade a moose hindquarter for quite a bit.
Hold on. We're gonna jump off. I'm gonna jump on this and make a kind of a legalistic statement here. If you're in Kansas, I don't know about anywhere else, but if you're in Kansas, you cannot sell your wild game. No. So Alaska lets you do it.
I don't know that you can sell it there, but people will physically, you know, if you have a moose, like a hind end or something, a rear quarter, and somebody else has something,
trade,
kind of that kind of stuff. Yeah, know, you cannot kill a wild game and sell it. I think that's a
federal law.
I think
so.
So you can't go out and shoot a moose for like $3 a pound or something like that.
So let's be clear. You bartering is one thing. Selling is another.
Yep. No. And that wasn't what I was getting at all.
I understood.
If you got a freezer full of moose meat, you're a very popular guy. Let's just put it that
very, very popular guy.
Yeah, nobody's, I don't think, out in the backyard saying, hey, it's $8. Maybe people are.
Yeah, but
if you got salmon or moose up there and you need a car fixed or something, and you
it might get fixed
for a barbecue or something like that, there's no questions there. And the reason is, and I think that probably most of the game officials would know, that they want to see that meat being used in the right way. I hope so for the
Yes.
conservation. standpoint.
So I don't see a wildlife and parks guy or a game warden saying, no, you can't fix his car for him cooking you a good meal.
Yeah, maybe.
Because that's
Right.
not, they don't have any right. It's just you can't openly sell it.
Right, you can't go out and put it on the market or something. And I don't know truly what the you know, the particulars are in that. But I know that by and large, if you've got something like that, or I know of a guy who had a heart condition, and he openly solicited people that if they weren't going to use their deer, he wouldn't. I don't know that he'd pay you for it, but primarily he definitely made it known that he would take any deer that you did not want.
Yeah.
Because he couldn't eat the fat content in red meat, and he
Yes.
liked red meat, and so deer was basically his beef, and that's that guy did just what it was. I mean,
Yeah.
he had a heart condition, and that's the only red meat he could have was some sort of wild game.
Yeah, and that's fair. People donating. So the only reason I stress that is I don't want to accidentally get somebody in trouble.
Yeah, no, don't go sell your game meat.
Yeah, don't go sell your game
That's
meat.
not going to be a profession
No.
for very long.
So, as I said, Steven has a very expansive bourbon collection, and I'm kind of looking forward to this.
Now you want to try a little bit?
He has the Dogfather.
We'll see
This
if it's as good
is
as they-
the very high end, so I don't want much. I do want to smell it. I definitely want to smell it.
Yeah, we don't have much left because somebody got into it, but
Oh, I'm gonna let you pour
you
it.
pour it
Ah,
as you wish.
I feel bad drinking this one.
There's more expensive up there, I can tell you that for sure.
I'm just gonna have a little taste.
You might save a little bit for the sound engineers too, huh?
Yeah. You want to try a little, Carson? Yeah, we'll let you try it afterwards. Oh, it smells
I know
amazing.
where a couple other bottles are, so we'll probably have one come Monday. So that one there's got the whole. It does. It is a nice bourbon. You have to admit.
Oh, that is what proof is that?
Mm-hmm. 93.
Oh yeah.
93.8.
Yeah, that's nice. What I like about this is it gets in your mouth and you get all the flavors.
That's what makes it.
And this is what got me. I never had a bourbon do this. My mouth started watering.
Mm-hmm. No, but you can. It's all. And I will give them credit. They did do a good. I don't know. Somebody explained it all to me one time. I'm like, oh, okay, no wonder. So it kind of expensive because there's not a lot of it, and it is
Yeah.
good stuff. But I have like a. Oh, what are the? I got that 23-year-old orphan bourbon. These guys went out and bought all these orphan barrels, so like
Mhm.
somebody goes out and they create like these bourbons and there's a barrel or two left and they'll just stay in
In the loft or whatever it is.
Yeah. And so these guys went out and started finding these, and I got the 23-year-old, and that thing is worth a lot of money. And probably should give it another try for my fair share. To be honest, I'm still, like I said, sometimes it just depends on your mood. I mean, there's times I'll drink something and it's like, whoa, that's really good. And I'll have it again. I'm like, dang,
I thought it was much better last
and
time.
then maybe a year later, I'm like, well, you know what? I wonder why I was so hard on it last time. But these type of bourbons right here, they just truly in my opinion, the Pappy 23, and I know it's extremely expensive. I think it's the best bourbon, and there's a lot of guys that argue that.
So what we're trying now is a
This is just
$600
close.
bottle.
Mhm.
How much is the Pappy's?
Well, if you talk normal retail, it's probably $200-300. But right now, if you wanted to buy a bottle of 23, probably 6,000 or 7,000. I'm guessing. Right
6,000
now.
or 7,000.
I'm guessing. It was $2,300 for a long time. $100 a year was kind of the normal.
Holy
and
cow.
we had a really big year at work last year, and so a guy decided he was going to buy it for me, and he actually bought me a bottle of 10. Love him to death for it. Give him a big hug right now. Ray.
Oh, yeah.
And he said he did that. He said, boss, I'm just kind of sorry, but he said the only 23s I could find were over $7,000. And I'm like, dude, you're going to have to do this.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, he's a wine connoisseur. He's got a whole he's got a nice wine cellar.
Yeah.
I mean, built in, you know, automated. You know,
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, $600 or $700, $800 bottle wine thing, and so I've got the whole top shelf kind of filled full for him, you know,
Yeah.
nice wines, and so I think he was reciprocating some, and again, we had a good year, so he's kind of apologized. I'm like, dude, because a lot of guys like the 10. The 10's like about 110 proof. Everything else is in the 90s, you know.
Yeah.
But when I still think it's like this. It lights up your whole.
I was about to say, that's amazing.
Yeah, you get flavor the whole way through it, and I can profile it out. Maybe, you know, a good sommelier.
Yeah.
Guy that can actually, and I assume a whiskey sommelier is the same as a wine. I don't even know if they call it sommeliers. I don't know, but a guy that they say that's actually genetic. You know, level 5 sommelier. You can't really become one. You are one. It's a DNA thing.
Oh, the ability to taste and
Yeah.
identify.
You know, and I think, you know, I mean, if you go to one of the tastings and they, you this and that and all this and that, I don't know anything about it, because it might take some of the mystical side away. You know, I mean, I like a bourbon because
It tastes good.
You know, like I said,
Yeah.
that's why there's just certain bourbons, and they're just at the front of my, and you can kind of tell because they're always empty.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
you know, that's just what it ends up. I mean, at night I'll get home and I'll look. I've done my ride or I've done my run, and I'll look, and there's just certain ones that just creep to the front.
You gravitate to.
But every once in a while, there's one in the back. You saw it's just in a cabinet. I'll get up on the chair and I'll look in there and I'll be like, all right, I'll pull this one
Yeah.
out. And I'm like, damn, how'd it get clear in the back? So it did.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you what, that bourbon is, to me, for me, is just a really pleasurable experience if you get the right ones. Now, I've gotten a couple in the previous podcast that they're still in the cabinet.
Right.
And they've been in the cabinet for about 3 months, and I haven't touched them.
Yeah. And I think, again, it seems to be a personal preference, and that's what Scotch, is the same way. I mean, in Scotch, these guys are a little bit more, they've
unique.
They've done it a while, so they understand. And there's the Lafroigs or whatever, and the Macallans and all this, and they kind of understand how it is. And a lot of those guys have the little dropper, like a little syringe, and maybe it's 3 drops of water to make it taste perfect how they like it. And that's why Kentucky bourbon in Kentucky, because they say I think it's the limestone that the water runs through, and it has that, it gives it its real natural taste, and that's why they say it's the best there.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, I have now taken you up for just pretty close to 4 hours.
Yep, I'm going to beat Wes's record.
Yeah, pretty close. So what I'm going to do is, because I don't want to suck out all the information from you in one sit down.
Sure.
We're going to wrap this up. I do greatly appreciate you letting us come out. We'll look forward to hunting with you this seasoning.
You bet.
This season. And I hope you guys continue to be successful in everything you do. This is your opportunity to give any kind of plug you want to for anything you want to do. Don't shake your head no. I expect you to give some kind of plug. Just look right into that camera there, whether it's camo, your truck business, whatever you think's important on your mind at this time.
Right.
Shoot a plug.
Well, for me, it'd be camoadventures.com. And, hey, if you're like me and you believe you live in the greatest country in the world, and you got some awesome young men and women out there protecting us and doing the things that they do, then, you can give to us, or you can give to anybody, or just give them a hug when you see them. Like me, every once in a while I get bumped to first class. First guy walks on with a military uniform, he's sitting in my first class seat, I can tell you that. So anyway, and I appreciate all you do.
Yeah.
So,
Well, guys, thank you very much. I really enjoyed talking to you this evening, or this afternoon. It was actually this afternoon. Carson and I have a little bit of a drive yet
Yeah.
to get home. We're going to sit down and have dinner before we leave with Steven's family. And we do appreciate you guys. And as I end every podcast, shop American made first. Shop your local stores. Shop local businesses like Steven's. Because these local businesses are the ones you come to when you ask for support for your softball team, your Boy Scouts club, whatever else. And when you do buy local, you are supporting that local business's son or daughter, or sons and daughters, to go to their activities, whether it be basketball, softball, baseball, whatever it is. And through that youth and through supporting American Made First, you definitely support our communities and grow our children to hopefully love America and continue to support America. As Stephen has said numerous times in the podcast, we live in the greatest country on the face of the planet today. And as President Reagan put it one time, we're only one generation away. And so let's continue to grow our generations to love and support America first, and let's keep moving on and moving forward. Thank you very much. Looking forward to talking to you again. Thank you.